Is the Morgan Stanley report a true indication of the real state of the economy, or as of now this is more like an high water mark which everybody seems to be setting? So let's do a ground reality and a ground check with none other than Vinayak Chatterjee, Chairman of Feedback Infra. Vinayak, good morning, good to have you back. Corporate confidence is back, Capex to follow. That is the headline of Morgan Stanley report, and they are saying that 77% of the corporate, which is more than 3%, 3% of the total corporates they've polled in, are confident that a big mega Capex cycle is about to start. Should we believe in this report, or the ground reality is very, very different?
Look, Capex investment by the corporate sector is across two dimensions: setting up new manufacturing capacity and investing in infrastructure. So far as investing in manufacturing capacity is concerned, there is some truth in the report in the sense that across different sectors, the capacity utilization of existing plants and factories is clearly showing an upward trend. And when that hits about 85%, then boards of these companies take a decision to increase Capex, which is happening. Many Capex decisions have been announced, whether it is in steel or whether it is in automobiles or whether it is in auto parts or in cement, whatever it is. So the question there is true. But when you talk about Capex in the infrastructure sector, I think let us very clearly understand that Capex is happening today by the government. It's central government, state governments and the urban local bodies. So there we are talking about not about private sector Capex, because private sector is today beneficiary of the public expenditure stroke what is euphemistically called Capex. Public expenditure in infra is Capex. So the private sector is basically getting EPC contracts and all the goods and services that have a first, second and third differential to provision of goods and services to the Sarkari Capex. So the general omnibus remark that Capex is increasing needs to be qualified by which sector you're talking about. So far as I can relate to, and I am restricting my brief to the infrastructure sector, I think there are two important collaterals on the ground that support the hypothesis that public expenditure in India has really kicked in, which is what we were all waiting for when I spoke to you about a year back, etc. Take the two lead indicators on the ground: demand for construction equipment and cement. Construction equipment manufacturers tell me that they are completely overburdened with orders and that suppliers are unable to keep up in terms of supplying of various ancillaries and parts. So that people have said that the order book or the demand growth is as high as from 25 to 70%. So far as cement is concerned, if you see the last few months results of manufacturing output, you are seeing a very, very healthy, sustained two-digit growth in cement. These are the two best collaterals. So let me stop here to say public expenditure in infra is certainly kicking in. Capex is by the public sector, and yes, in the manufacturing sector, there are signs that private sector Capex is looking up. Over to you.
Vinayak, in that report, that further classifies Capex into two nature. And the report goes on to say that up until now, the Capex in the last few years at least has been maintenance Capex. When is it that you think that the revival is going to pilfer through to greenfield and brownfield Capex as well? Both government as well as the private sector.
See, so far as government is concerned, it is only, the Capex is greenfield.
Right.
I don't think in government accounts, mostly repairs and maintenance get caught in revenue expenditure. So whatever public expenditure is happening in government is greenfield Capex. So let us therefore move the conversation to the private sector. It is true that till now Capex was low and was only related to replacing worn out parts or stuff like that. But right now, as I said earlier, across different segments, I certainly know that in construction equipment, automobiles, cement, large segments of FMCG, people are now talking of expanding plant capacity. So a Capex revival in the manufacturing sector is very much underway. Greenfield.
Okay, but when do we see it's underway? When do we see the results of that coming on the surface?
It depends. A decision for Capex is now being taken at the boards of companies. Now, by the time that gets approved, the finances allocated, land organized, permissions organized. If you frankly ask me, the on the ground impact of demand for capital goods is still about a year away. It is showing a revival, but these decisions take time to filter down in terms of real work on the ground and the placement of orders. Whereas in the public expenditure, I think as I said, the demand for construction equipment and cement clearly shows that it has hit the ground.
The minute we talk about Sarkari Capex or government Capex, we think it is only in roads. And I think revival is visible there, especially in the hybrid annuity project. So where do you think the so-called Sarkari Capex will now move? Do you think it will be concentrated only around roads and bridges, or there could be more to it?
Well, first, the Sarkari Capex please note, is not just central government. It is also a large number of state governments who have standalone road development corporations like MSRDC in Maharashtra, etc., who themselves have fairly large Capex programs. The UP roads program is large, the Maharashtra roads program is large, and similar for many frontline states. So it's government plus states, and let me also add that it is not just hybrid annuity. I think the real pusher is EPC contracts. Hybrid comes a close second, but the real is EPC and then supported by hybrid. BOT is practically over. So, and it's also very clear that when people look back at the economic achievements of this Sarkar, 2014 to 2019, I think roads and highways is a clear, outstanding, non-controversial success. But answering your question, going forward, I think analysts often miss the point that their significant order book is also building up from orders released by railways. The firms who are into railway electrification and railway construction, which is track renewal and track expansion, are all seeing a very healthy growth in the order book. So railway capex is kicking in. There are 23 metro rail projects at different stages of implementation. Some are at the stage where they have just got the planning approval and the permissions, and the others are where they have already started issuing orders. And on an average, each metro rail project is about 20,000 crores minimum today. So you can see that in the forthcoming months and quarters, metro rail is going to be a very significant addition to the Capex program. I would like to add on that electricity transmission and distribution. With the government's push towards Saubhagya and 100% rural connectivity and revamp of DISCOM operations, etc., people in the business of supplying goods and services to transmission and distribution in the electricity sector over and above renewables, which is a story well documented, I think are seeing fairly robust, shall we say, demand and therefore corresponding economic activity. Remember, while the jury is out on how well the smart city program has done or not, the fact on the ground is that the intense talk about smart cities and urban rejuvenation, in my view, I have seen a lot of anecdotal evidence of a large number of towns and cities who have suddenly woken up and are put on the market a large number of jobs which relate to urban infrastructure. Multi-level car parks, effluent treatment, bulk water, flyovers, underpasses, roads. There are a large number of urban infra projects which nobody collects as a statistic. But if you add that up over at least the top 100, 150 towns in this country, they add up to a significant construction demand. And that's also part of the reason that it's fueling the cement and construction equipment. And finally, remember, there are two big airports who are soon to kick in terms of construction contracts about 9 to 12 months from now. The Navi Mumbai airport as well as the Jewar airport in Greater Noida in the National Capital Region. Each of these airports, to my mind, are not going to be less than 25,000 crores. So this is the Capex scenario. And if I were to paint a picture of concern, I think the only area where I'm really concerned about is the water sector. Because if you've just seen Niti Aayog's report on water, it paints a picture, a very grim picture, what's happening to the water sector in this country, from groundwater to irrigation to inland waterways. I don't think we have kept up pace in terms of the attention and the focus and the outlays that this sector requires. So my humble submission to everybody, government, civil societies, that after roads and railways, it is time India started focusing on the comprehensive water sector. But let me stop here now.
Okay, Vinayak, I have a very simple question and something which pains me because I live in Mumbai. What will it take to improve the roads of Mumbai? Every year we start every year I get hopeful that this year will be better than last year, but nothing changes, Vinayak. I mean, whatever tall claims anybody may make.
Improve the roads and manage the rain.
No, it amazes me. This is a financial capital. The potholes are only getting bigger and bigger. And look at what happened in one of those, colonies yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
a hill caved in. So, Vinayak Chatterjee, what is going to happen to Mumbai roads? Kya ho sakta
All
hai?
it requires is very significant civil society action. You need, and there was a time in Bangalore when civil society was empowered by the government through a reputed NGO to grade the quality of the contracts that were given, the quality of the contractor itself, and the quality of the work done. You need very, very strong civil society activism if you have to cure this, and that is my only advice.
Changes, Vinayak. Trust me, it's painful to see the state of Mumbai right now. We may like to call it the financial capital. We may like to take a lot of pride with the fact that, we've got so many good restaurants and high scrapers. But trust me, when the ground is shaky, there's no point in aiming at the sky.
Well, look at the air quality in the national capital. How about that? At least we can breathe here.
My suggestion is, as a TV news channel, start with a census of all the potholes. That will be a big shake-up to anybody watching your channel.
Yeah, we will do that. We will get on it right away. I think that really is the need of the hour. Okay, what's happening with the market? Status quo. Vinay, great having you on the show as always.
Thank
and
you.
Getting in all your innovative thoughts on what's going on with infrastructure and more importantly, how to deal with Mumbai's menace, the potholes.